I don't do drugs, I don't smoke, but I reckon this is the second worst thing I've ever done. I'd hate to add up how much money I've spent on rallying over the years. In fact, we'll probably skip that subject and move on to something else. Hi, my name's Stewart Reid, and today we're in our business premises, SR Automotive. Now what we do here is we specialise in general servicing and mechanical repairs on mostly late model vehicles. I started my rallying career, if you call it a career, more than 20 odd years ago. We've competed in the Australian Rally Championship since the 1986-87, so it's a number of years here now. The reason we actually went into business was the fact that we needed more money to fund our rallying, which is quite ironic. Today is 22 years to the day with my association with the Shell oils. It's taken me a long way. You just gotta, sometimes I've got to give myself a pinch in the arm to see where I am today. A lot of it's been through rallying. I've met a lot of nice people. Our expertise in rallying, or our lack of expertise in rallying, but has brought us to meet a lot of people. And because of that, people bring their cars to us to get them fixed. Another fantastic association we have, as I've mentioned, with Shell Oils, is the fact that it's a very strong brand. And the branding, for me, has been a very important thing to make my business a success. Back in the early days, we had the most famous, I think, Shell advertising campaign was Dick Johnson and Barry Sheen. I mean, I don't know anyone that watched that back then that didn't have a bit of a laugh about, "Oh, Dick, yeah, a chocolate, give me a chocolate." You know, it was hilarious. But back to rallying. Yes, the necessary evil. Okay, here we have our replica S1 Audi Quattro. This car was initially built in New Zealand by Andrew Hawkswood, who is now the company that are designing all the AP4 cars, which are a fantastic car. Andrew built this car, very cleverly done. We're in the process of just tidying the car up and rebuilding it to get ready for the Legend of the Lakes hill climb in Mount Gambier, which is on, believe it or not, the 4th and 5th of next month. So we've got a bit of work to do. We've got it in tarmac spec at the moment, so hence the reason we've got the large disc and the big 6-spots calipers and the MCA tarmac spec suspension. We changed a number of things when we got it initially. It was brought into the country by a gentleman called Dave Thompson, and at that point in time we actually looked after the car for him, and I was lucky enough that Dave let me drive it. So as soon as he decided that he was selling it, I just about hawked everything I had to get my sticky little hands on it, and here it is. So we've got a 6-speed sequential gearbox, which is made by Modena Engineering. The car accelerates so fast that I always had to have one hand on the gear stick to change gears, so I felt a lot safer trying to hold on the steering wheel as quickly as I could, so hence the reason we've got a sequential gearbox. Fully modernised FAI spec chrome moly roll cage, and these cars were basically twitchy, angry vehicles to drive. Now we were very lucky that Ari Vatanen came to Australia to open the Rally Hall of Fame, and Ari actually drove this car. I was lucky enough to sit beside Ari, and the one thing that Ari said, "This car is a beast," and he was quite right. They're very twitchy because the wheelbase is so short. You have to grab it by the scruff of the neck and virtually throw it at the corner. To drive the car at 60% throttle, it can bite you. So it's easy to be just hard on the brakes and then hard on the accelerator pedal. There's no room for driving it in between. In the back, obviously, we have the fuel tank cell. So again, we run this car on a different type of fuel. So we have a foam tank fill seal. This holds about 55 litres, which this car on full throttle, it sucks up the fuel pretty quickly. As you can see, there's not really a lot to them. You've got the big arches, again, tarmac type type brakes. We run an 18-inch tarmac tyre on this car that are 8.5 inches wide. While it was in New Zealand and Andrew owned it, Michel Mouton actually drove it in the Otago Rally. So we're very lucky to have two very famous people having driven the car, and they both autographed the bonnet. So we're getting a new bonnet made, and we're going to keep the bonnet and hang it on the wall. So here we have a brand new Subaru STi. The car was built for Mr. Jeff Keys. Our role here at SR Automotive was basically project manager. We organised the roll cage to be done by competition fabrication, the suspension to be done by the suspension experts, and basically then put the vehicle together for Jeff. He's going to be using this vehicle in either gravel events. We also have a tarmac spec suspension settings for him and some slicks. The car has a comprehensive modern roll cage, Motec ECU, electronic diff controller, Alcon 4-spot brakes all round for gravel, and Brembo's all round for tarmac spec. This car has yet to be driven on the gravel. We're expecting him any day to probably pop down and take it for a drive. We've tried to keep a lot of the things on this car as close to standard as possible. Once you start tampering with engines and compressions and turbos, it gets very expensive, and it's not the kind of thing that Mr. Keys wanted to do. He wanted to just be able to jump in the car. Hence the reason there's not many competition cars around that one of the definite musts where the air conditioning had to stay. So it'll be quite a cruisy one to drive around in when everyone else is working up a sweat. He'll just be sitting there with the air conditioning on, enjoying himself. Of course, these cars come with the aluminium bonnet, reducing the weight, and being a Spec C, Subaru Australia, I think, brought in 10 of these at the year they did, and I think this was the last one that was ever built as a race rally car, and as of yet, still brand new. So with the engine system on this, the engine is basically a standard engine. One of the many things being in our workshop is that we actually use the Shell Helix Ultra, and also the fully synthetic gearbox oils and the Shell ALS 90 diff oils front and rear. The engine has a Motec system which we've mapped for 100 octane. Obviously this particular car was mapped on Shell V-Power. The power increase is probably about 30 or 40 kilowatts on standard. One of the reasons that we went to an aftermarket ECU was so that we could actually control the electronic diff, the centre diff, without having every check light on the dash flashing at you. Very nice to drive. The exhaust system being the different style of WRX engine, we've actually crossed it over to come out of a single system, so we've got a 2.5-inch downpipe with a 3-inch system out to the rear end. Again, in rallying you need to make sure the vehicle has no louder than 90 decibels, so quite a challenge to keep the noise down, especially when you start flicking on the anti-lag buttons and they pop and bang and throw out quite a nice flame at night. But yeah, should be a good thing in a forest. Okay, here we have 7-time Targa Tasmania outright winner, driven by Jason. The current owner, Dave Thompson, lives in Brisbane, and the car is actually up for sale at the moment. So very lucky to have something like this here in SR Automotive. And again, this car runs on Shell oils using the Helix Ultra. Beautiful sounding car, being a V10, sequential gearbox. The good thing about things like this is the car actually accelerates very, very fast, but also stops equally as fast. And sometimes when you're accelerating in a car very fast and you jump on the brakes, it's quite a surreal feeling to realise that you've actually braked too early, which can happen. Comprehensively built by Jason White, probably one of the most well-known tarmac Lamborghinis we have on this side of the world. Not many vehicles have won Targa Tasmania outright as often as this vehicle has here. And the current owner, although he loves driving it, it's not his cup of tea. He would prefer a big horsepower rear-wheel drive car, and that's the reason why the car is up for sale at the moment. We've got a new rear lens coming from Italy for it. Basically give it a wash, changed the oil, and it's ready to go, so it's new owner.